My name is Joseph. I'm 80 years old. I spent 38 years not knowing something that changed everything when I finally found out. Let me tell you what happened. I thought I knew exactly how my life would look when I stopped working. I planned everything. I saved my money. I built my spreadsheets. I thought I was ready. But I spent the first 6 months of my retirement doing it completely wrong. I was rushing. I was forcing it. I didn't know how to just stop. Today, I am going to look back at those first 6 months. I am going to tell you the unexpected things that hit me. Some were good, some were hard. All of them surprised me. If you are about to retire, or if you just did, you need to hear this. Because I wasted time I didn't need to waste. I want to save you from making the same mistakes I made. I want to show you the truth about leaving your job. The truth is messy. The truth is quiet. Let's talk about what really happens when the work stops. Let me take you back to my last day of work. I was the head librarian for our city. I worked in that building for a very long time. When I walked out the doors for the last time, I felt a heavy weight. I was scared. I didn't know who I was without my job. The next morning I woke up at 6 o'clock just like I always did. I sat at my kitchen table. I drank my black coffee. I read the morning paper. And then I had nowhere to go. I just sat there. I stared at the wall. The wall was painted white. I felt completely empty. You know what surprised me most? The physical change in my body. It did not happen on the first day, but within the first few weeks I noticed something. My stress dropped. It dropped so fast it felt strange. I was no longer in charge of a budget. I was no longer managing staff. I did not have to worry about meetings. I did not have to deal with complaints. The weight was just gone. It was gone completely. My doctor even noticed it. My blood pressure went down. I was not taking any new pills. I was just living a different life. I didn't know it at the time, but my job was keeping me tight. My muscles were always tense. My shoulders were always up near my ears. When I retired, I learned how to breathe again. I felt light. I felt calm. Honestly, it was a beautiful thing, but it took time to accept it. I felt guilty at first. I felt like I should be doing something important. I had to learn that resting is important. The drop in stress was the first big shock. It changes your whole body. It changes how you sleep. Even with the stress gone, I had a new worry. My anxiety turned toward my finances. When you are retiring, or just about to retire, the one thing that is on your mind is your money. It was on my mind too. You see, I worked hard to save. My wife Catherine and I lived on modest salaries. We invested. We bought real estate. We lived below our means. But leaving a steady paycheck is terrifying. You do not realize how much you rely on that check until it stops coming in. I sat down with Catherine. We looked at our numbers. I asked her, did we do enough? Will we be okay? We had to have that discussion. This is a massive decision. You have to ask yourself hard questions. Is the house paid off? Do we have debt? What will we do if the market drops? We went over everything. We checked every account. We verified every single dollar we had to our names. And here's what I didn't understand then. The fear does not go away just because the math works. The math said we were fine. The math said we had passive income from our rental properties and dividends. But my brain still felt poor. I still felt like the kid whose father lost his job at the textile mill. I was worried the money would just vanish overnight. During those first 6 months, I checked my accounts every single day, sometimes twice a day. I was obsessed. I was looking for trouble. It took me months to trust the system I built. Now, many years later, I barely look at it. I review my accounts for maybe 20 minutes a day. But back then, I was terrified. The anxiety was very real, and it took a long time to fade. I had to train myself to let the money sit. Another thing that was completely unexpected was the travel time. I used to drive to the library every single day. It was not a long drive. It was maybe 20 minutes there and 20 minutes back. But when I retired, I suddenly got all that time back. I saved time. I saved money on gas. I saved wear and tear on my car. It sounds like a small thing, but it is not. At first, I didn't know what to do with an extra 40 minutes. I found that I could spend an extra 20 minutes just drinking my coffee and talking with Catherine. That is not a bad thing. In fact, it is a wonderful thing. The travel time from work changed into something else entirely. I stopped looking at my watch. I stopped rushing out the door. Now my travel time is used for going to the community center. I volunteer there. I teach financial literacy to young people twice a week. I am doing something that matters to me. But in those first 6 months, I did not have that routine yet. I did not have to get up and rush through traffic. I did not have to scrape ice off my windshield at 6 in the morning just to beat the rush hour. I had an open morning every single day. It felt so strange. I felt lost in my own house. I had to build a new routine. I started doing Tai Chi in the garden. I started painting in my studio out back. I had to put structure into those open hours. If you don't build a routine, the time just slips away from you. You look at the clock, and it is already noon, and you have done nothing. I hated that feeling. Routine saved me. It gave my days a shape again. Let me explain something else that worried me. Inflation. I knew about it, of course. I read all the financial books. I studied the economy. But experiencing it in retirement is different. When you are working, your salary usually goes up a little bit each year to help match inflation. When you are retired, you are on a fixed path. You have what you have. I knew I had saved much more than I strictly needed, but I still worried. Inflation is a quiet thief. You don't really feel it on a Tuesday. You feel it when you look back 5 years later and see how much your groceries cost. You hear about it on the news. You look at your index funds or your IRA. You see the numbers fluctuating, going up and down. I was lucky. I factored inflation into my plans. I have a state pension that adjusts for inflation automatically. It is a good system. It worked out very well for me. But during my first 6 months, I tracked every penny we spent. I kept a little notebook in my pocket. I wrote down the cost of milk. I wrote down the cost of gas. I was paranoid about spending too much. I thought a bad year in the stock market would ruin us. I was wrong. The market goes up and the market goes down. That is just what it does. I learned that patience is the best defense against panic. If you build a solid plan, you just have to trust it. I stopped watching the news so much. I stopped reading the financial panic articles. It gave me real peace. Now, what is another unexpected thing? I had to learn a lot of new things. When I retired, I realized my brain needed a job. A library is full of new information. I was used to learning every single day. Without that, my mind felt dull. I felt lazy. I felt like I was losing my edge. So I started doing new things. I started this YouTube channel. I had to learn how to set up a camera. I had to learn how to look at the lens instead of the screen. I had to learn how to edit videos on a computer. I had to figure out what a niche is. I had to learn how to produce a video from start to finish. I am an old man. I did not grow up with these machines, but I learned all that on my own after I retired. It was a great thing. Honestly, I loved doing it. It gave me a project. It gave me a reason to stay sharp. The first 6 months of retirement are a perfect time to become a beginner again. When you are an expert at your job for nearly 40 years, you forget what it feels like to be bad at something. I was very bad at making videos at first. My lighting was awful. My audio was quiet. I felt embarrassed, but I kept trying. I realized that failure is just information. You try, you fail, you fix it. It brought a kind of joy back into my life. I was not just killing time. I was building something new. That is vital. You cannot just sit in a chair. You have to keep building your mind. There is another harsh reality I had to face. I had to learn that my body was changing. I learned that I cannot do things the same way I did when I was younger. In my first 6 months of retirement, I thought I had the energy of a 40-year-old. I made a massive list of projects. I wanted to fix the entire house. I used to do my own repairs. I would put up a shed in the backyard in a single afternoon. I would carry heavy wood. I would swing a hammer all day. I used to do it all on my own. But then my back would hurt. My knees would ache. I realized I don't bend that way anymore. My strength is different now. I practice Tai Chi. I have done it for over 20 years. But even with that, I had to change my movements. I had to adapt. And looking back, I have changed and adapted a lot. Now when I start a house project, I know it will not take one day. We have to put the deck down. We have to set the plates. We have to put up the walls. We have to put the roof on. It takes me a week now, sometimes 2 full weeks. I just don't do it in a day anymore. And I used to get so angry about it. I used to swear a lot when things went wrong. Not so much anymore, although I can swear with the best of them. Don't tempt me. I just learned to accept my speed. You change and adapt. If you fight your age, you will just be miserable. You will be tired and angry. I chose to listen to my body. I work for an hour, and then I sit down. I drink some water. I look at the trees. The work still gets done. It just takes longer. And that is perfectly fine. I have nothing but time. The urgency was all in my head. Hold on a second. I need to pause. Look over my shoulder out that window. Do you see the garden? The tomatoes are finally coming in thick. I planted those seeds months ago in little cups. They take a lot of time. You cannot yell at a tomato plant to grow faster. It just does what it does. That is exactly what happened to my attitude. My attitude has changed completely. My demeanor has changed quite a bit. I am not frustrated and angry anymore. Well, maybe frustrated is a better word to choose. I was frustrated because I wanted to control everything. I wanted everything done fast. Now, I just don't care. I am retired. If a task does not get done today, I can do it tomorrow. I don't have to do it right now if I don't want to, unless Catherine says so. If my wife tells me a job needs doing, then I have to do it. And generally, she is probably right. I have usually been putting it off for too long. I am actually better at procrastinating now than I was in my first 6 months. During those first 6 months, you are running on old habits. You wake up and you go, oh, I have all this free time. I want to get all these projects done right now. You try to cram everything into 1 week. As you get a little older and a little wiser, you realize those projects will wait for you. You have a lot more time to do them. You learn to pace yourself. You learn that resting is not a crime. You learn that looking out the window is a valid way to spend an hour. I stopped rushing. I let the days unfold. It is a much softer way to live. I highly recommend it. Let's talk about time. Time is very valuable. When you first retire, you don't really think about time in the grand sense. You just think about filling your days. But as the years go by, you start thinking about the actual time you have left. How much time do I have left on this earth? It could happen tomorrow. It could happen when I am 90. You just do not know. My attitude back in those first 6 months was all wrong. My attitude was, I have to get things done. I was checking boxes on a list. Now my attitude is, I'm going to do the things that I want, on my own time frame. It is a beautiful thing. It is not rushed. It is one of those things that is hard to put into words. I think it comes down to peace. I have come to peace with myself. And honestly, that was one of the harder things to do. The first 6 months, you are just gung-ho about retirement. You are excited. You want everything ready to go. As you age from those first 6 months to now, your perspective shifts. I am at peace with myself and the decisions that I make. When you first retire, the decisions you make are totally different. You value different things. Now, I value my family more than anything else. I tear up at bad dog stories on the television. If I see a story about a dog being abused, I start crying. My emotions sit right on the surface. I do not hide them anymore. I used to hide them. I thought a man had to be stoic. Now I just let myself feel it. I love my children. I love my grandchildren. Catherine and I have made a very good life for ourselves. We worked incredibly hard for it. At my age, you ask yourself, how many summers do I have left? Do I have 10? Do I have 5? I don't know. But retiring when I did was the best decision I ever made. Physical health is everything. I have been lucky. My health is good. I do not have a problem doing things. I may be a little slower, but that is just part of aging. In those first 6 months of retirement, there was so much excitement. We would travel, and we would rush everywhere. If we did not leave the house on time, I would get upset. I would say, "We are going to miss a whole day." What you don't realize then is that you have tomorrow. You always have tomorrow until you don't. When you first retire, you want to make the most of your time, and you feel rushed. You go somewhere for 2 weeks, and you try to see 20 different sites. Now, I travel a lot slower. I see things better. I enjoy the travel much more. Instead of flying somewhere and running around, I want to spend time just walking. I want to go to a park and just look at the trees. I want to sit in a cafe and watch the people walk by. It is relaxing. My blood pressure is way down. I am not on pills. It is a very good thing. When you first retire, you have things to figure out. You have to figure out your spending. You have to figure out your routine. There is a myriad of reasons why those first 6 months are different than the next 10 years you are going to have. But once you figure it out, it is a phenomenal thing. It really is. It all comes down to finding peace in your life. You have to stop trying to cram everything in. You do 1 or 2 activities in a day, and that is a great thing. Sometimes I do 3 or 4, and that is a full day. The point I am trying to make is that your first 6 months will change from wanting to get everything done right away to getting everything done when you get it done. Let me close on this thought. Make peace with yourself. Understand yourself. Understand what you want. Understand what is truly important to you. Make those things a priority. Once you get your first priority going, your second priority is a good thing, but it is not the most important thing. Once you get that most important thing figured out, everything else gets easier. And you will not get it in the first 6 months. You just will not. You will have to do it over a couple of years. It takes trial, it takes error, it takes patience. Once you get your routine set, once you get your priorities set, retirement is the best gig ever. It really is. Thank you for listening to an old man talk today. I hope this helps you figure out your own path. With that said, I have more stories to share. You might want to check out this video right here. Or maybe it is this video over here. I am still learning how these buttons work. Let's call it this video. Click on it, and I will see you over there. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and remember to take your time.